Welcome to another episode of the Market Makers in Middle East and Africa podcast. I am your host Abrar Hussain. Today I speak to Rajesh Garg, Group Chief Financial Officer at Landmark Group and also leading sustainability for Landmark Group. Rajesh, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for the invite. Really feel good about it.
Rajesh, a very successful journey where you are now leading one of the largest group as a CFO and leading the sustainability. Tell us about your story.
Well, I'm actually an engineer, a refugee in the world of finance. I started my career at the age of 21 with my own company, my own business, selling hazardous chemicals and transporting them. And then I sold it, which helped me fund my MBA from Manchester Business School and University of Chicago. It was like a joint program. And from there on, I joined General Electric in New York. I was a part of the corporate audit staff team. Did a few audits in power systems and GE Capital. And then I went back to my other on-hold campus, with Procter & Gamble. Spent almost 10 years with them across various businesses, cosmetics, fragrances, health and beauty care, baby care, home care, across North America, South America, and Europe. And also I was involved in a tech startup, which I co-founded. It was part of P&G and Accenture, cloud-based marketing software for enterprise, like Coca-Cola and P&G. And then that got bought back by P&G. I went back into P&G, did a few more assignments, then almost spent just under 8 years with Cadbury Schweppes out of London first, setting up their global business services for all 69 countries, all kind of back office, all across all functions. And then I was the CFO for India and all of Asia. Few years with Tesco in the joint venture with Tata in India and in London in their finance function. I was on the board of Cipla, India's largest, one of the largest, pharmaceutical companies. And then, as you've said, I've joined Landmark. Will hit a decade soon.
Wow. A very, very interesting story with the tech background and, various locations and now Landmark. How important is the CFO office for driving growth and how your tech background helps in that?
See, in the end, consumers or your customers don't buy functions. They buy products which are made up by different functions. So in a way, we are all to be leaders. We are beyond just our function. And when you sit on the leadership table, you are representing everything, not just your function. And I've pretty much, been doing various kind of things. But yes, thankfully, the finance piece pays the bills and, keeps you employed. But finance is a few things about it. It's the most, kind of unbiased function, right? So other than the CEO, that's one function which is ubiquitous. It cuts across the whole company or an enterprise or an operation and is kind of unbiased because it's only looking at driving stakeholder value and shareholder value. And so it gives you enormous kind of opportunity and to help steer the company along with your CEO. And I use the analogy of, a traditional finance function is like you're sitting in the back seat and as the various, milestones pass, you're basically giving a windshield, a rear view mirror view of what has passed, a quarter, a year, and you're providing information. So that's the traditional finance. The next step up is you're in the front seat, along with the CEO, you're a co-pilot, right? And you're giving the windshield view. So you're giving the rear view view, but also the windshield view saying, hey, avoid left, watch out, there is a bump coming, slow down, go fast, right? You're helping. And you still have to do reporting rear view. So rear view, windshield. I think the key is if now imagine the business is driving at the speed of Star Wars or like a rocket ship, And in that you need to be predictive. You need to watch out what's well beyond what sees the eyes, what's happening in technology, in trends, in the markets, in commodities, and helping translate that back to the business. So I think if you can do all three, that's what
Amazing.
I think is what an ideal finance function and also a CFO should do.
I mean, that's a very, very good question, answer, Rajesh. Coming to Landmark Group, and Landmark Group is one of the largest retail business in the region. It has grown very fast. What has contributed to its growth, and how do you see it in terms of the scale, and how do you see the future?
See, clearly a group founded by our late founder, Mickey Jagtiani. The company has turned 50 this year, so it's most amazing when you find the average life of companies on the big major indices are much shorter, and they're getting shorter. So very proud to be part of this 50-year young company. If I were to step back and say exactly like what did they do differently, right? And I will still say they did, because I'm a new entrant and I feel we are standing on the giant shoulders of our predecessors at Landmark. I would say actually I look back and our values really kind of summarize why we have been successful. And you often find when you look at any company's values, you think, nice words, not sure, if they're really living it out. But actually, if you look at what I'll just tell you now, it seems like, hey, that actually is true to itself, why we are where we are. And it's I lead, ILEAD. So if I talk the lead first, L is listen. So enormous capability driven straight from the days of Mickey to listen to the customer. And I think all the brands we've created, 90 to 95% of our business is our own brands. And you can't build a brand from scratch unless you listen to what the customer wants. So every single brand of ours has been driven by that, and it continuously listening to what the customer wants, right? And then you have E, which is the empower. And I think we've had fantastic empowerment to all the leaders who, they were entrepreneurs. They were given, these kind of complete freedom, autonomy. And yes, when you grow too large, there are parts you cannot have complete carte blanche freedom, but we are still very, very highly empowered leaders and colleagues. And that is an important element of, what we do. A is the adapt. And I would say this is a clear, a hallmark of Landmark's DNA. And if I just use some examples from what was closest to me or my vantage point, right? It's during COVID, we were the first ones to, before anyone else, even the governments or WHO, to recognize that this is going to be a big disaster or a big pandemic. And we kind of, unleashed our whole business continuity plan, but zeroing in onto the finance part rather than talking all other things we did to continue to service our customers, scaled up our e-commerce operations. In finance, we actually created a war room for inventory, for costs, and cash. And throughout this dark phase that hit the world, we actually continued to be quite financially healthy, with cash, and continue to serve our customers. We barely let go, employees. And the best part was we bounced back the fastest to record numbers. And this is one example. We see it every day. So the resilience, adapting and making way is the other kind of, thing. The last is D, which is deliver. In the end, it's all about execution. And that's what it's been. The first 20 years, there were 20 stores. And then the next 20 years, there are 2,200 stores. So kind of thinking through this whole journey. But I would think the last part, which is actually the I, I would say is last, first, whatever you want to call it. It underpins everything, and that's the integrity bit. And as I just told you, I worked for the bluest of blue chip multinationals. I think Landmark stands out
Wow.
in that league ahead of any company I've worked for, where it's all about doing the right thing, doing it the right way, no shortcuts, and standing tall and driving a culture of integrity across everything we do and think. I think that's why we are what we are, and the journey is kind of just begun.
Wow. I mean, I heard in these stories of entrepreneurs who were created by Landmark, who created
Yes.
these brands. So this was like very unique story where you empower them and they come and
Yes.
create very good brands.
Exactly.
Uh, Coming to your passion, which is sustainability, and you driving sustainability for a large retail and a fashion group. How do you integrate sustainability into the operations and supply chain of Landmark Group?
See, as I said, I'm a cost engineer. And as I went deeper and deeper into trying to understand sustainability, I've realized it's actually quite analogous to driving cost down. To me, driving carbon out is driving cost out to begin with. And that's the enormous waste any enterprise, any brand, any operation has. Removing waste can not only save money but also reduce what you consume in building products, delivering products, right? Case in point, whether switching to renewable energy, right? We've been tracking it. The minute the economics became favorable, we started switching. We've maxed out whatever is allowed. 14% of our UAE energy is through renewable energy. We would double it if we were given. There are restrictions per site how much you can generate. Tomorrow morning we would embark on doubling it, right? But by the way, it's been a cost saving. So yes, we are meeting our goals of reducing fossil fuel energy, but on the other hand, we are creating that. If you go upstream, which is where the big problem is, I think to just highlight, scope 1, 2, and 3, 1 being what's in your own operation, 2 being what you buy from the utilities as in energy, 3 is whatever is upstream and downstream. For us, 11% is scope 1 and 2. For a bank, it's about 5 or 6%. Rest is all upstream or downstream with their customers, or for us, it's the product, which is the biggest driver. Where the cotton is grown, or where the wood is procured from, or where the polyester is procured from, cracking naphtha and so on and so forth, all the way down to converting it into shirts, pants, sofas, right? Shipping it over to our warehouses and then retailing it. So we've built the framework, sustainable products, sustainable operations, and sustainable customer journeys. The last bit being what your customers do with your products, how long they use it, what do they do after they've used it. And that whole cycle is how we've looked at this, and we've built our own carbon accounting model to try and ascertain quite, I would say, directionally accurate. It's not precise, but I don't think we need to be precise yet, because knowing bulk of where is the footprint, where is it coming from, has been an eye-opener. And for 40,000 product types that we have, which convert into more than 500,000 SKUs, we've done the life cycle analysis, bottom up, from cradle to gate to grave, and potentially now hoping from grave back to cradle. Right? And that has galvanized us to really focus on what are the big shifts we can do. And the biggest shift is upstream with our suppliers. How do we get them to convert their processes to be more sustainable? Yes, it's not free, it's not cheap, but hopefully, there is enough waste in the beginning. But we are seeing a lot of traction from our suppliers, and the journey has just begun. But we feel, we are in the right direction, getting our employees, all our colleagues, all our leaders to kind of, embark on this journey with us.
I mean, sustainability is very interesting, Rajesh, and I think it's becoming very important for a lot of companies and the countries. What kind of metrics you track? Let's say in your operations, and when it comes to your suppliers, how you kind of partner with them, or I'll not say impose, but how you partner with them and encourage them to kind of have sustainable practices in their operations as well. This is one part. And second, as you were saying, which is very interesting, that when you are in a retail business and your products goes to customers, how they use it and what they do after they use it, how you are managing that part or influencing that journey.
Yeah. So first on metrics, see, there is actually an alphabet soup now of acronyms and reporting standards, and for EU, for US, and for the rest of the world, and so that itself is a task. But we've gone for the most kind of meaningful. So we obviously signed up for the GRI, which is the Global Reporting Initiative, which is very comprehensive across all aspects of environment, social governance, right? But if you come specifically to environment, then we have also signed up for science-based targets. So the SBTI initiative, which is very specific on what targets you set and how you enforce your reductions. But coming to just broadly, the metrics are the emissions, direct, indirect, the whole 9 yards, right? The water. So how much water is being used by a process? How much are you kind of, able to recycle, or what you are throwing back into the planet, but it's not been treated properly, or so emissions, water, waste. So in terms of just literally how much waste is your entire operation or enterprise resulting in landfills, right? And then eutrophication in terms of what happens to, as there's runaway water with the landfill that you have been directly or indirectly responsible for. So there are very specific metrics, tracking all those, putting it all together, and tracking it at material level, product level, brand level, country level. So as I just talked, we've built that, and then we are saying, how do we take it to by 2040 to 2050? It's a wide range that how can we be net zero, right? So that's the whole reporting part, right? What was the second idea?
Yeah, the second one was that how are you influencing the customer journey?
Yes,
because I think that's
absolutely.
a very big part.
Yes. So we realized almost like 20-30% of your footprint is with the customer. How they're using it, how long they're using it. So we've started a take back program. So we are encouraging our customers to give back old clothes, or even now ramping it up is furniture, right? Can we better handle it? Answer is yes, right? So clothes, we've actually put up a pilot factory in UAE, in Dubai. It's just gone live, but we will formally, get to announce it, which will take old clothes and convert it into fiber, which will be sent back into our supply chains to start inserting it into new products. Same for furniture. We are working with some partners because it requires, a little bit more specialized things, that as we supply new furniture, that is taken away, and then trying to reuse, almost 90-95% of the raw materials for reuse into newer products or different products, upcycle, downcycle, right? And that is something which we are really wanting the various government regulatory bodies to come along, because we can't do that alone, and we can't do it only for us. Yes, we are hoping that whatever is our fair share, more than that, we will try and kind of ingest to lead the way. But hopefully one day you will have, today globally only 8.6% of the material that goes into everything we use is ever recycled.
Yeah.
The rest is just left, and that cannot sustain. We cannot keep, we are kind of eating the planet.
Yeah.
All the way from food to agriculture to clothes to everything we are doing, and that's not sustainable. So to put back or reduce what you extract as resources from the planet is one of the biggest pillars of sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
So we've started in a small way,
Okay.
but it's more to kind of drive the culture of our customers as well, to prevent them from being in this use and throw, kind of a culture, to really say what to treat it like a gift that you received of material from the planet. I'm going to use it. I'm going to help reuse it, help make sure it doesn't just lie in my cupboard or ends up in a landfill.
Mm-hmm. And Rajesh, when we're talking about sustainability, one thing is, you know, this is new for a lot of people, or most of the people, even in the companies, right? How you drive that culture of innovation, of sustainability in your teams at Landmark and, the wider ecosystem. So how you are managing that culture change part?
If I quote David Attenborough, one of the prime, leaders in the world on sustainability. So he, in his, one of his documentaries, he says the humans didn't set out to ruin the planet. They were just not aware. Or rather, I would say we are still not aware.
Right.
I think so. Driving awareness is, I think, the number one task of anybody who wants to work on sustainability. Whether it is your own company, colleagues, it's yourself, it's your family, it's your friends, right? Because once they're aware, I can tell you from my own, we've had 2 big sustainability workshops in Landmark with 100 plus attendees. And every time we push out statistics of how our operations and how our products, what they're doing, there is stunned silence. And yes, we are, all here to drive shareholder returns and all, but I think everybody can see the future, right? That it's a short term versus the medium and long. And I think as you all see the way the climate change is happening, long term is now looking like medium term, and some cases even short term, we can see the impact, right? So I think it's happening. It's so awareness, driving awareness is the best way to drive it forward. But in the end, customers are still responding positively in surveys. Like 86% of Arab youth in a recent survey responded that they would boycott a brand or company which is not producing things in a sustainable way, or which doesn't care about the environment. But at the shopping till, people are still saying, how will my one jean
Will affect the
I
environment.
don't have 20
Yeah.
bucks, I'm going to save my 10 bucks and, I'm going to move on, right? So obviously in the survey, I can't offer it. Now that's changing though. It's changing very fast. And I think that's what we've got to watch out for and drive towards. But as leaders, you can't wait for that. You got to lead the way.
Lead the way,
You
yeah.
can't be saying, oops, now my customers are not interested in my brand. So clearly we are not waiting for that. None of our brands are, and that's how we feel that we will lead the way, being leaders in pretty much all the segments we partner in, and that's the way we are getting our brands and business.
But that's very, very interesting, and it's kind of will help the ecosystem to be more sustainable as well.
Yes.
Rajesh, I know that you're very passionate about sustainability and it's coming out. Tell us about the book that we were discussing, the book that you are writing on sustainability. What is in it, and what kind of encourage you to write that?
Yeah, so it's thank you for bringing that up, our pre-podcast conversation. So it's just begun. I've just started to write it, and it's called, Vicks, Vitamins, Vitality, the inverted pyramid of value creation, and a dose to go green. So it's more like 3 medicines: Vicks, vitamins, and vitality. And it'll be a very simple read, very quick read for any business user to kind of understand the basics. It's not one of those books which you need a PhD to decipher and read and details. It's inspired by a lot of books that I'm reading on this topic. and I hope to have that out. So and I hope the Middle East, which is where it will be released, leaders here, a lot of my colleagues, are now friends heading other businesses. I think they would find it as a good quick read. So maybe you'll invite me back
Yeah,
here.
definitely. I mean, I was
Yeah.
looking forward to read it, and
Yes.
it's
Yes. Yes.
so it'll be more on sustainability and
On
how.
driving sustainability in a company,
Okay,
and get how to do it and where do you get value. But really, it's about driving value creation from sustainability.
perfect, perfect.
Because as being at the kind of intersection of finance, technology, and sustainability, I have no option though, right? To say we got to create value
Yeah, yeah.
and not just be a sinkhole for investment.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a very interesting view, and that was my next question. That you being a CFO and driving sustainability, how these things help, mainly you being the CFO, and how do you balance the short-term, let's say, financial impact with long-term impact of sustainability? And as you said, how does sustainability create value for brands or for companies or for retail houses?
See, initially, that's what I also thought, and you find people saying, "Hey, this is at odds." The finance guy also helping with sustainability, but when you get into it and you say, actually, it's the most logical place. Few reasons for that. One is, as I said, we are ubiquitous. Finance is everywhere. And you can't drive sustainability just in one corner with marketing or some one department, right? It has to be across the enterprise. We are there and we are watching everything, right? So that is one. Second is it requires, you already touched on it, huge amounts of reporting, numbers, right? And authentic numbers, right? Real numbers. And that's what finance does, right? So we would be the most logical place to kind of give authentic numbers which are unbiased and real, and the company can stand on it as it reports. Finally, yes, it's an expensive transition. So how do you balance and how do you fund it, is what a finance team or person can perhaps do a good job of it. So I think that's what brings, in the end, yes, there's a lot of technology needed to be done. The material science is changing. But there is a Cambrian explosion of innovation happening, and how companies will bring them into their products and operations is how the world will transition.
Hmm. And Rajesh, you mentioned very interesting thing, which is being a CFO is all about and sustainability as well. You have to do a lot of reporting, bring out the data. So this intersection definitely helps. And then you said on technology part as well. As you have a technology background, how do you see the tech affecting the role of a CFO or the CFO office? And how do you see the new technologies like AI will have an impact in coming years and in the future?
So, one of the things we noticed about 4 or 5 years ago was the advent of robotic process automation, right? So, obviously, there's a lot of automation in the physical world, which we are also, as a company, we adopted in our supply chain, and we can talk about it later or whenever. But the software aspect, which is what happens in the processes, is the part we picked that as the first moment when we saw in our shared service centers 10 desktops with nobody sitting on the seats and processes running. Now it may not sound that bad, but that strange, but it was quite a spooky kind of a feeling. And we just took off, and we have a small robotic process automation center of excellence. Small in the sense it's only single digit number of people, but we've built over 600 bots, very sophisticated to the very basic, but servicing 8 countries, 8 brands, 8 functions, pretty much everywhere. And this has been transformational. We've saved over 1 million hours.
Wow.
From our colleagues so far. We track it because we are a very number driven company, and the ROI driven company, and it has been a fantastic journey. And that robotic process automation is now moving into intelligent process automation. So essentially, with the way AI has come up, if you try and combine them, what was a bot doing a very basic, rule based, right? Zero judgment based, right? I mean, essentially anything that doesn't need judgment, we can build a bot for it. But now, intelligence or artificial intelligence, as you call it, or learning can start moving this in where it can do some analysis for you. So many of our bots are becoming more intelligent, right? So I think that's a great way to continue that evolution. Mm-hmm. Overall, I think we are seeing AI enabled, tech all around us, from enabling our e-commerce operations, right? In terms of how we build our various apps, the content generation, managing content, right? The curation of the content or all that, ingestion and all. I think it's going through a very rapid transformation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing that in every aspect of our business. I think the key though is there is a lot of hype, and how do you manage that tightrope in making the right choices, I think is where will lie the companies who will really benefit. Because if not, every business user wants every new technology like yesterday, and that's not going to be possible, nor affordable, nor executable. So I think that's also a place where finance can play a very big role at making sure the ROIs and the value and the choice making and the sequencing, because it's a lot of times it's not whether if you deploy a certain technology or if you embrace a certain technology, it's about when.
Yeah, and what will be the value creation and the ROI.
Correct.
Rajesh, coming to the and again, the CFO office has a very important functions, not only on the finance side, but bringing transparency through financial data. And you have been a board member as well at Cipla. How do you see governance or importance of governance bringing financial transparency, and how leaders can do that, which, as you mentioned, brings integrity, and how CFO office plays a role in that?
See, I think it's in a way, the way technology and information availability is becoming all pervasive, and pretty much anybody, your customers, your competitors, people who like your company, people who don't like your company or whatever, everyone has, you can assume pretty much everyone has all the data.
Yeah.
So actually, the positive side of the way the world is moving is that it pays off to be transparent. Because on one hand, it always has been, but now there is no room to not be transparent. Your supply chain, what you're sourcing from, where you're sourcing from, what are your, so I think, we are, we are, I mean, if there was credit ratings, we would be a AAA rated company. And, having come through a rating process in the past for listed companies, I can tell you that. We follow all the best reporting standards, right? And we don't treat it as if we are not a, major listed corporation. In fact, it would be even better because be more pristine reporting, because we don't have those short-term pressures of, appeasing a market, right? I mean, our owners, our majority shareholders are very few, and they are in the business, right? Mm-hmm. So I think in that way, actually, our job becomes very easy. Because we talk what we do, we talk what we did or what we are, so there is no second guessing. So I think that way right now there is a kind of a blissful situation being where we are.
Mm-hmm. So as a CFO, Rajesh, what metrics you see when you want to grow in new countries, launch a new brand, and how you drive growth?
See, in retail, there are two very simple metrics, right? One is the like-for-like growth. I mean, you do need to grow by expanding, adding new stores and all, but in the end, the real test is the same store, how well is it growing? And with the way e-commerce is coming in, we are a omni-channel company, right? We don't want to distinguish as well between where the customer came or bought from, and he can look at it in the store, buy online, vice versa, and also. But hence, the growth rates of an individual store, like for like growth, is the most important metric, right? And then is the sales per square feet. So these are just the age old metrics, right? But overall, yes, I mean, the company wants to keep growing. We are in a region which is in some ways now, so we obviously are very big in India as well, which is the massive 1.4 billion people.
Wow.
We've expanded into Southeast Asia now, Indonesia and Malaysia. And obviously GCC is a relatively, in a population sense, small region, but in the spending potential, what they spend per capita income and all, it's
huge.
quite huge, and in a global way quite meaningful. And but overall, yeah, I think we've had so many brands. We need to make sure all of them are having their fair share in all the markets. We're still growing, which is the good part. E-commerce is growing at a terrific pace, and we've got quite high percent of our business now in e-commerce, and that helps us remain on the edge, because we are competing against pure plays, but we feel the omni-channel play is obviously the right place to be in.
And Rajesh, now consumer behavior.
Yeah.
So now, we see a lot of changes. We see Gen Z, different generation, different regions, as you operate in a lot of countries. How is the consumer behavior changing?
I think it's obviously not a sudden change or whatever. It's been evolving continuously. We are a value player, a set of value brands, and we get immense pleasure at bringing affordable products to everybody, right? Not just a certain segment. You will find the entire spectrum of customers, from all stratas of incomes, right, and nationality shop with us. So we literally will have the person who is the wealthiest to a normal entry level person will be buying our brands. So value for us, and I think customer behavior has not changed, and it's getting more and more acute. There is global competition. There is seamless flow of goods now from Asia. Brands shipping directly without stores. So value is focus of our customers is intense, right? I think speed of when they get it. I want my product right now. We are doing same-day delivery in pretty much all of our markets now, big in UAE, in all big cities of Saudi as well, right? But obviously now you're talking of instant delivery and all. Some of those may, it depends on the categories, right? So customers want value, they want speed. I think we are seeing a shift towards conscientious brands and products. And it's, as I talked earlier, it's growing. It will grow much faster than what we've all thought about. Because so buying sustainable products or sustainably sourced and produced or oriented products is going to be the third, and it's coming much faster. So I think those three encapsulate what the consumer trends are.
Rajesh, my last question. You had a very successful journey, leading very large companies, different regions, being a board member of large company. What are some of the key highlights of your career and that inspires you and that has shaped your leadership approach?
A lot of my team say my CFO, it's called Chief Fun Officer. So we have the best finance, events, conference, social. We are a strong informal team, right? So camaraderie is very high, and I feel like maintaining the way we were all in college. That kind of feeling even at work, because we spend so much time at work. If that is not there, you yourself can't work, people don't want to work for you, don't want to work with you. I think that is the essence of how you drive your teams and the work, right? So it's like, work hard, party harder,
Party harder,
right?
yeah.
So the there is no escape from that, right? I think the other is, I would say, the curiosity. If you stop being curious, your output, your company, your function will all start to decay.
Okay, yeah.
And the way the world, the pace is increasing, exponential shift happening, your amount of curiosity needs to go up. So the curiosity coefficient has to keep going up, right? I think the last part is the whole part of, being true, being, honest, right? And in the kind of functions I've led, I think the integrity of your data, your statements, how you operate,
What
how
is, yeah.
is there's no choice. So the
Yeah.
NPV, to be very finance driven, of doing the right thing is far higher
Yeah.
than the NPV of any shortcut or not doing the right thing. So I think that's where I would say that's all I've been doing. I don't I don't see anything else. Having a lot of fun, being very curious, whether it's numbers, technology, new things, customer trend, behaviors, but then in the end being very, very, specific, honest, true with whatever your numbers or your interactions with people.
No, thank you very much, Rajesh. It's a pleasure to host you and pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Abrar. Thank you so much.